If it seems like we're talking about the Southeastern Conference a lot more this college basketball season than usual, you're probably right. Though the NCAA doesn't use RPI in its selection process anymore, TeamRankings.com still tracks the metric to see which conferences reign supreme, and the SEC has its highest collective RPI since 2018. While you can already check out our team preview of Tennessee on thepowerrank.com, there are several others in this league who can contend for the national championship, and this is worth a closer look. Welcome to our Bracket Wisdom series on the Football Analytics Show podcast. I'm Edward Egros, on assignment for the Power Rank. As you've no doubt read on whatever Twitter is called now, every national champion since 2002 ranked in the top 40 in offense and top 25 in defense in KenPom. In the SEC, two fit these criteria: Tennessee and Auburn. When it comes to the Tigers, there were few expectations for this kind of a campaign. The conference's preseason poll ranked the Tigers 6th. Johni Broome was a first-team All-SEC selection, and he's lived up to the hype as an elite defender and a force down low with roughly 30 dunks and more than 30 putbacks to his credit. To add to the scouting report, you are way likelier to see him take a hook shot than a jump shot, for instance. But what wasn't anticipated was the evolution of senior Jalen Williams, who's averaging roughly 13 points per game, the most in any one season of his on the Plains. His jump shot in the two-point area has been exceptional. He's also a finisher around the rim and protects the basketball well, despite having it in his hands a lot. Lastly, there's Chad Baker-Mazara, a JUCO transfer originally from the Dominican Republic whose role has grown these last several contests. For instance, against Georgia late in February, Baker-Mazara hung 25 points to go with 4 assists in a blowout win. What's fascinating with this roster is that guard play had usually been the hallmark of the program in recent years, but at least for now, it's wings and forwards. It's why Auburn has more attempts around the basket than nearly every other title contender. As with many Bruce Pearl-coached teams, it's the defense that stands out. At last check, Auburn's effective field goal rate allowed is number 1 in America. They defend two-point tries exceptionally, using these 6'8" and taller guys to clog areas for open looks. They also defend the rim, allowing the lowest make percentage there in the country. Forcing opponents to resort to jump shots, especially if they're not making them, can lead to quick wins. Now, if Auburn's colors are orange and blue, then calling this program blue collar may be on the nose. The resume tells us the Tigers have beaten everyone they're supposed to, an undefeated record against all other teams in quads 2 through 4. But against the best, they're 1-7, with that lone victory coming against Alabama, a team they split the season series with. The ceiling may be pronounced, more so than what you might expect from a legitimate contender, but a favorable draw in the tournament could mean they can reliably make the Sweet 16 and beyond. Speaking of the Crimson Tide, if you are willing to buck the trend of a team needing to be quote-unquote complete to win a title, Alabama may be your pick. Once again, Nate Oates has his guys playing about as well offensively as any team in America. The former math teacher who specialized in geometry and statistics has his players hoisting threes at a top 15 rate, finishing around the rim at a top 15 rate, and shooting mid-range jumpers at the second lowest rate in college basketball. Hey, if hoisting it up from the wing is your game, you are ultimately playing for a different program. Perhaps just as importantly, Alabama has single-handedly debunked the idea that lots of threes lead to long rebounds and transition buckets the other way. Alabama is top 25 in offensive rebounding, with Nick Pringle leading the way, a 6'10" senior forward averaging roughly 5 boards a contest. The scoring is led by Mark Sears, clearing 20 points per contest with a field goal rate of roughly 51% and a three-point rate of 44%. Phenomenal numbers given the workload. Grant Nelson and Aaron Estrada have also come up big in several spots. However, unlike in previous seasons, the biggest knock against Alabama is the defense, something they had little trouble with in other years when they were contenders. Perhaps there's no better example of Bama's defensive woes than a recent game against Florida. On the road, the Tide suffered foul trouble. The threes weren't dropping. And perhaps the most important defender in Ryland Griffin suffered a leg injury. The Gators scored 105, the second time in the last 4 games Alabama allowed triple digits. Granted, points allowed per possession is a better metric for quantifying defense, but even then, Bama ranks outside the top 100. Bama has had arguably the toughest schedule in America, which may forgive losing 5 of 7 during a portion of the non-conference slate, but that stretch included going up against Purdue, Creighton, and Arizona. The question is, in a tournament matchup when the shooting gets cold, what else can Alabama do to stay in the game? It may be a tougher ask than usual. There's one more contender worth mentioning, perhaps the bluest of blue bloods. Evan Mia puts together a relative ranking that analyzes how well teams would fare against opponents of similar quality. On his website, you can also look at how much better or worse teams have performed in this metric over a given period of time. And in the last month, one of the hotter teams in college basketball is Kentucky. In February, UK has defeated Auburn, Alabama by scoring 117, Mississippi State, and Arkansas by hanging 111. As a team this entire season, the Wildcats average better than 40% from 3. Though they don't shoot a ton of them, they can either run up the score or make a ferocious comeback, and seemingly at will since the start of the calendar year. Kentucky's lead cat is Reed Sheppard, who's a top 10 NBA draft pick in the latest mock by Tankathon.com. There's also the possibility he could even go top 5, as could Dalton Connect from Tennessee. Talk about the SEC showcasing high-profile talent. But back to Sheppard. He may be a freshman, but this scoring point guard is shooting better than 50% from 3 and 44% from long 2. He's also averaging 4.5 assists per contest, largely from driving to the rim and kicking it out to an open shooter. And he has many options. Antonio Reeves is averaging 20 a night. Rob Dillingham is another freshman point guard who is comfortable camping around the perimeter, and Trey Mitchell has performed well at both ends of the floor. Just like Alabama, Kentucky plays at a breakneck pace, one of the faster tempos out there. This style is not indicative of John Calipari, though. He's adjusting to his personnel. Just like last year, the Cats averaged 69 possessions per game outside of the top 200 in the country. This year, it's 77, roughly 8 more possessions per contest, nearly the fastest nationally. There have been other seasons when Kentucky has played at a more moderate pace, but given who he has, Coach Cal has decided to take shots early in the clock and wear down his opponents. However, also just like the Crimson Tide, the defense is the biggest question mark. Even when pace adjusted, Kentucky is barely a top 100 D. They allow a lot of threes to be taken, and though they have an incredible block rate, teams can finish around the rim and snag their own misses. Regardless of how far Kentucky can go in the dance, it's safe to say they will be playing high-scoring games. Might be enough for another patented John Calipari run. Other SEC teams destined for the tournament are more than capable of winning a game or two, like Florida, for instance, or South Carolina, Mississippi State. The state of the league is strong. The leaders are battle-tested. It's just a matter of if these incredible offenses can carry their teams through that 6-game gauntlet. Thank you for listening to this episode of Bracket Wisdom on the Football Analytics Show podcast. I'm Edward Egros. Friendly reminder, after the field is announced, check out the Power Ranks March Madness cheat sheet that makes it drop-dead easy to fill out your bracket. These predictions are based on analytics that have predicted the game winner in almost 70% of the last 15 tournaments. To get this cheat sheet, sign up for the free email newsletter at thepowerrank.com. That is Dr. Ed Feng's site for better March Madness predictions through analytics. Once again, that's thepowerrank.com. Members of the Power Rank get access to full bracket advice for how to win your pool. This includes the Power Rank's very best analytics, strategy, and insights into basketball. Members also get access to member predictions for each game and college basketball player props during the tournament. To learn more, go to thepowerrank.net. This is a URL that will take you to the page on the site dedicated to becoming a member of the Power Rank. Once again, that's thepowerrank.net. Thanks again for listening, and take care.